I'm going to tell you some funny stories about me traveling, some funny stories about language and traveling. Obviously, I'm living in France, as a lot of you know, and I'm just looking at my notes so that I start in the right place. Um, and being in France, it never occurred to me that I would always stand out. Now, I'm blonde for a start, I'm quite tall, and I obviously don't look like French people. You know, there are French people that look slightly English, and I've made a lot of mistakes in the past saying to people, "Oh, you English?" And they're like, "No, no, no, je suis français." Um, but because I look different, automatically people say, "Oh, are you German? Are you Austrian?" No, I'm English. Oh, okay. So I don't have that invisibility cloak that a lot of people, if I were dark haired, maybe I'd get away with it a little bit more. But for that reason, I wanted my French to be absolutely perfect. I was very, very conscious of my accent, and I tried really hard to pronounce words perfectly in French. Now, of course, I've never managed it because I still have a very strong accent. And it's a now I realize at 25 years on, my accent is part of me. I'm never going to get rid of that accent. It is who I am, and it's always going to be with me. And I'm starting to like my accent. Um, but I don't want you to make the same mistake and think, oh, I have an accent, so I can't speak. I have to sound like a native. No, you don't. You don't have to sound like a native. You sound like you, and you will speak the language like you speak it. Now, remember, if you have an accent, it just means you speak more than one language. So you're already miles ahead of a lot of people. A lot of people stay with their language because they're scared of making a mistake, of looking stupid, of just making a fool of ourselves and tripping over our words or tripping over, making a faux pas, as we say in French, just getting something wrong and yeah, looking silly in front of other people or maybe the ones you love. And nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to look stupid. I've looked stupid a lot of times in my life because I really have said some silly things, um, been very naive and just asked questions when maybe I should have thought, or maybe, I can work this out myself. I don't have to ask the question. I can answer it myself. Um, but hey, that's all part of growing, and it's all part of knowing where you are in your language capacity. And if you're a beginner, then you're going to make mistakes and you're going to have an accent. And that's absolutely, perfectly okay. And embrace it. Go into it more with an idea that I'm speaking another language rather than I want to be perfect in another language. Now, I told you last time about someone I know, and she waited 5 years before she started speaking language. I don't want you to wait that long. I want you to start today, now. I want you to have that confidence, take my confidence, and go out there and go, you know what, I can do this. I can go and ask the shopkeeper for some milk. Or I can help that stranger who looks lost on a street corner. The number of times I've stopped when someone is standing there with a map, I don't walk past them. I never walk past them because if someone's got a map out, it means they're lost. It means they're not sure where they're going. It means they're not in a place that they're familiar with. And and you can help them do that. You can help them find their way. And it's a brilliant confidence boosting exercise if you stop and say, "Can I help?" And maybe you can't help. Maybe where they want to go, you've never heard of, or you don't know how to get there. But 9 times out of 10, you can. And they will be so grateful that you stop to help. And English, obviously, is the international language. So It doesn't matter who's stopping, where. It might be a family of Indians that are lost in the middle of Dubai, or it might be an Italian that's lost in Belgium. It really doesn't matter who is lost and where they are. English is your common ground, and English is where you can connect with other people. And I so want you to be able to connect with people, because it really does boost your confidence. Not only have you helped somebody, which is already incredible, but it helps you realize that, oh, I can speak to somebody else. And the more you do that, the more you travel and maybe go into a restaurant, and most people know how to order a beer or to order a pizza. That's fine. But try ordering something that you don't know. Have a laugh with the barman. Order something, even if it comes back and it's not exactly what you asked for. Here we had a real giggle over. We had a new colleague at work, and I'm a teacher. And in the coffee room, I was making a cup of tea, and he said, "Would you like a cloud of milk?" In English to me, and I just looked at him and I said, "A what?" And he said, "A cloud of milk." I said, "What's a cloud of milk?" He said, "A nuage de lait." And it was so lovely that that he translated French directly. So I've just realized that the sun is blasting through the window, so that's a little bit better, I think. That he translated the French, a nuage de lait, which just means a drop of milk. We would say a drop of milk. And then from then on, every time we were in the coffee room together, he said, "Do you want that cloud of milk?" And I'd say, "Yeah, go on then." And it just made me smile every time I heard it. And it still makes me smile today. He no longer works at the school. And I always think of him when I hear nuage de lait. And I think, a cloud of milk. What a beautiful expression. A cloud of milk in my cup of tea. So, there's all sorts of ways that you can interact with people. You don't even have to travel. You could be in your country. You could talk to a foreigner. You could talk to somebody that's moved into your country that doesn't speak your language yet. You could be gaming. A lot of my students have picked up a lot of English through gaming. Not only are games in English, so I'm not a gamer, so I don't know the names of games, but I know there are, is it Need for Speed or whatever it's called? All the language is all in English. Now people all over the world play these games of all ages. It's not just students. It's not just young people that are playing games. Maybe you play games, and maybe you're online with other people, and then you chat because it's an interactive game. You're chatting with people across the world in English. And a lot of my students have said, "Oh, I've picked up so much listening and joining into conversations, and people don't judge you." People don't judge you. They don't judge you face to face. Very rarely. I've had a handful of situations where people have really judged me here in France, but people don't judge you. People don't. They don't rip you apart for speaking a language badly, for making mistakes. It just doesn't happen. That is all in our head. And why is it in our head? Because at school, we're always told you're not good enough. You're not perfect. You're still making mistakes. And of course, the more that's drummed into us, the more we think, if I make mistakes, then I'm going to get it all wrong. No, you're not. No, if you're making mistakes, it means you're moving forward. It means you're trying. It means you're getting there. So keep making mistakes. Go out there. And I'm sorry, the education, if I could change education tomorrow, I would do. But language is to be spoken. It's not to be perfected. And if you're waiting for perfection, you're never going to speak the language. So stop trying to be perfect. You're perfect exactly as you are, speaking the language as you do, with the accent that you have. um, I don't know how better to say it than just start speaking. And the best place to start speaking is with me in my free chat groups. So if you're watching this on replay, do contact me. You just put a message on my YouTube or somewhere else. I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, I'm on TikTok. I have my website. I've put it in the chat there, so you can connect to the website, and then you have my direct email address and everything else. Contact me. Say I want to speak. I'm not selling anything. This is me to you, just saying I'm here. If you want to speak English, we can speak English together. Um, we can set up a date and say once a month, once a fortnight, whatever suits you, and we can talk for free. And it's so easy to do, and you'll realize that the more you talk, don't sit there thinking, oh well, I'm not good enough yet. I've got to get better. She'll just laugh at me. She won't understand me. There have been times when my students have spoken English and I've not understood what they said. But I don't judge. I can't judge. I say things in French that nobody understands because I pronounce them wrong. So there's no judgment. I would just ask you to repeat it again and maybe to write it down in a chat so that I can see what it is you're trying to say. And then I'll repeat it back to you with the correct pronunciation. And then the next time you say it, you'll get it right. It's a learning exercise. And I'm offering this at the moment for free. It will eventually be a payable service, but I'm offering it for free because I really, really want to get people to start speaking English and to start now where you're at. Even if someone contacted me last week and said she has studied England and the British culture and the British language for years. Now, obviously, I don't know how old she is, but she said she's spent her life, she's very passionate about everything that's English. And her message was in perfect English. So I think her written English, but she said she's never, ever spoken to somebody. What a wasted opportunity. If you're that passionate about speaking English, why not speak to an English person? Contact me and talk to me. Tell me about yourself. And the idea is that we create small groups, and in these small groups, we get to know each other. Not intimately. I'm not going to ask you about your family history and all that kind of thing, but just, day-to-day banter. So day-to-day talking, and see progress your English. So we can pick a topic and we can just talk about that one topic altogether. Or we can talk about our day and talk about what kind of day has everybody had. There are all sorts of ways that we can talk, discuss, use vocabulary, listen to grammar, and you'll realize that you're not the only one that makes those mistakes. We all make the same mistakes. We all pronounce pretty much the same words badly. It's incredible, isn't it? We think we're the only one that can't say vegetable. But I have heard so many French people try and say that word and they can't say it. Squirrel is another one. French people cannot say squirrel. It's a really hard word because your tongue does a very peculiar shape in your mouth when you say squirrel that a French person can't do. Now, obviously, this is practice and they can get to it, but that means millions of people can't say that word. So you're not alone. If you're a French person and can't say squirrel, there are thousands, millions of people that can't say it. So once you realize that you're not alone and that in actual fact, everybody is in the same boat, everybody is just wanting to communicate, to connect with other people, then you realize that, okay, I've got this. I can do this. And you can do it. And you can do it, in actual fact, very easily. And for free at the moment with me. because once I go back to work, it's going to get more and more difficult to connect with me because I'm going to be working full time from September. So, my time is limited for free. So make the most of me, make the most of this opportunity and connect, get in touch, and let's start talking, really talking. Don't be shy. Don't be embarrassed. Don't be worried that your English is not good enough, or that I'm maybe going to sell you something at the end of it. Because I know, I've done it time and time again. I've connected to free events, and it's always a hard sell. At the end of the day, and they finish the live event with, oh well, if you buy my package, or if you buy this, or if you buy that service, then you can go even further. I'm not interested in that. I'm not selling you. Sure, yes, I'd love you to buy my courses, or to buy lessons with me, but that's not for me to push you into. That's for you to decide at a point when you're ready or financially able to do it. The idea of the chat group is just that we will just chat. Um I'm not going to try and sell you, try and promote anything. Okay, so do rest assured where that's concerned. Now, I don't know if you can hear in the background, but it's one thing that this is why I'm on the road at the moment, is I'm following a championship. I have a French friend who plays what's called key in French, and it's a bit like Skittles, but there are a lot of rules, and it's a very complicated game. And it's just in the area where I live. They don't do it anywhere in France. It really is an Avronais game. So if you can hear lots of shouting and clonking in the background, essentially it's a load of wooden sticks, and then they have a wooden ball and a wooden stick, and they throw the wooden stick first, and then they throw the ball and all the other wooden sticks. Now, this is probably sounding completely balmy, and it is. When you watch it, you think, what is going on? They've got these huge wooden balls, and they're just knocking down sticks over and over again. But hey, there is an art to it, and I've decided to follow the championship through to the end. So we are on week 3, I think, or 4. I've lost count. But it's also a way of discovering the region. I'm in a village that I've never been to, not very far away from my home, in actual fact. I'm only an hour away from home. But yeah, I just wanted to explain that if you can hear in the background some weird shouting and clonking, that's what it is. I'm following this game. And you know what I love about it is everybody that I have met here. Now I'm following one particular team, but everybody else that meets me, they all come and say hi, and they all shake my hand. And of course, as soon as I start speaking, they say, "Oh, you're English." Yes, I'm English. So yeah, I wouldn't say I'm famous, but I've become a bit of a curiosity, I think, on the key match. But it's another way, of you connecting and speaking a language is through activity. You may play a sport or watch a sport. Now, I know a lot of people who watch rugby and who watch football, for example, or cricket. Maybe um, you do follow these sports, and when they're commentating, maybe they're commentating in English and you're following it. And maybe you play the sport and you know the sport inside out in English. You know all the words that go along with rugby or go along with football. And it's quite often the case. In the French language, there are a lot of words. Football is called foot. Um, and a lot of the words that go with football, they've adopted those words. So even the French say, match, for example. They don't have another word for a football match. It is called match. So maybe you follow a sport yourself, and it is a great way of learning the language, and so you don't even have to leave your own home. to be able to listen and practice your language. Although, if you can, it's a brilliant way of developing your English language. You don't have to go far. You don't have to spend a lot of money. Now, when I was young, what happens is you become a slightly different person when you start speaking English. You you speak any second language because you become, sorry, this little fly is flying around here. You become more open-minded because you realize that even though you may love your own country and be very nationalistic and you love everything about where it is you live. I'm not taking that away from anybody, but maybe by going to another country, you see, or seeing it on TV, maybe even, you see another culture. You see another way of looking at something, another way of seeing life, experiencing life. Every country I've been to, they all have their own little quirks and their own things. And it's a beautiful thing to see, and it makes you realize that the world is huge in actual fact, and there are so many people like you trying just to get by, just to speak a second language, trying to say a few words in English. Um, and it does change the kind of person you are, and it makes you more confident in your own country, knowing that in other countries there are people like you. So when I was, and it opens so many doors too. When I was younger, um, I travelled a lot, and I would go on holiday for a week. I'd just book a really cheap holiday, and back then you could get a holiday for €100 to go for a week in Spain, for example. Now I went to Portugal on a holiday with my parents. Decided why not go back there? So I got back to England, booked myself a flight, flew out, and thought, okay, now I'm here, I need a job. So I spent the first 2 days going from, I hired just a hotel for the night, and I went from door to door to door, and I looked for somewhere um, to get a job. Now, I didn't have many qualifications back then, but I knew how to waitress. I'd done that before, and I'd looked after children. So I tried all the schools to see if they needed anybody. I put up notices to see if anyone needed a nanny, and I applied to all the restaurants. And one restaurant in particular took me on, and I got a job. And through that job, I fell in love with a beautiful Brazilian man, and who didn't speak any English, and I didn't speak any Brazilian. Um, but man, was that, and I ended up staying for a couple of 3 months, and it was an amazing experience, and I met so many people and did so many things that was so different from my life in England. Um, and then I flew back to England. I did the same thing. I went to Greece, and I flew out to Greece. Um, didn't fall in love in Greece, but I did get myself a job as a waitress again on a beachside restaurant, and absolutely loved it. It was amazing. And I had, again, 3 or 4 months of working in a foreign country, meeting different people, even people that were on holiday, because I was working in a restaurant. Everyone that was coming to the restaurant, pretty much, they were all tourists and they were all coming there on holiday. And it was just an amazing experience, and made me realize that I can do this anywhere in the world. And I did. I did it again in Germany, and I worked in Germany. Um, I washed buses in Switzerland just to make money because I needed to eat, and I didn't have a job in Switzerland. It's quite hard to work in Switzerland, and I was passing through, really. I was only there for a couple of weeks. But I thought, well, what can I do? So I just went up. There was a big coach park where all the coaches parked up next to Lake Luzerne, and I said, "Can I wash your van? Give me $20 and I'll wash your entire coach." which back then was probably a real bargain. But I did it, and I washed coaches for a whole day and earned myself about €100, which was enough to keep me in food for a couple of weeks. So, you know, there's always a way forward if you open your eyes and your parameters a little bit and go, okay, I've got this, I can do this, and go for it. Don't hold yourself back because life really is too short, and it's gone in a flash. And I'm so pleased that I had all those experiences back then. I know a lot of you maybe have children, husbands, lives, jobs, and that's fine. And so you can't go off for 3 or 4 months, obviously, but you can still go off for a weekend. You can help out maybe at a local place where they have foreigners. I mean, here they have they're not refugees, but they have like associations that help people, immigrants coming into the country. So they help clothe them, they help them get jobs, they help them speak English. And I've been to a couple of those, and I've helped out. Um, and you just meet all sorts of people, and you get to talk about all sorts of cultures. I remember I went on a course, and there were some um, Turkish people. Now I know nothing about Turkey and Muslim and all of that kind of thing. I didn't grow up that way. I was very much, Christian bred and married a Catholic. Didn't know anything about Muslims at all. And of course, today's society is kind of turns us against Muslims and makes us think that they're all terrorists. And of course they're not. It's just what's portrayed in the news and the TV. And so I sat down. The Muslims kind of kept themselves because they were going through what's it called? Where you don't eat Ramadan. Is that it? Um, and so they were doing that, and so they were keeping themselves apart at lunchtimes and what have you, while everyone else was eating. And then one day I thought, I was a little bit wary of them, and I thought, well, why are they not eating? And I don't understand what God would stop you from eating. And so I decided, I thought, you know what? The only way I'm going to find out is if I go and ask them. Now, they spoke French, of course, and they had very strong accents. And so I sat down with them, and they were a little bit, oops, sorry, that's my alarm. And I sat down with them, and they were a little bit shocked and surprised. And they were like, okay, well, why are you come over here? You should be over there eating with all the other white people. Um, and I said, well, I've got some questions about Ramadan. Can you explain to me what it is you're doing, why you do it, why your God would be, you know, why you do this for your God or your religion? And we had some really good conversations. And he talked about his children and what he does at home. And a lot of you might think, oh gosh, well, I'm not going to ask a total stranger what does he do when he gets home. But for me it was important because I felt like I was judging through other people's eyes, so through the media's eyes, and not through my own experience. And I wanted to have my own experience to see, what is Muslimism? What do Muslims do? Why do they wear why do the ladies wear cloths around their heads and all that kind of thing? And it was so mind-opening for me to talk to these people and to understand them and to realize that no, of course, Muslims aren't terrorists, no more than Christians are terrorists. That it is just our media that creates this. But I'm so glad I had the balls to go over there and talk to them and put all of that fear to one side. And it's completely illogical fear. It's, there is no reason for me to be any more scared of a Muslim than a Christian or a Catholic or or anybody else. I have nothing against any religion whatsoever. And I was quite surprised that I had that fear. I mean, we're talking years ago, but I had that fear of, and it's really a fear of the unknown, because you don't know, because you're not brought up with it. And I would imagine Muslims probably have a similar thing against other religions. Catholics, I know, have persecuted all sorts of religions in the past, and it's just fear. And it's the same thing with language. I've gone off on a bit of a tangent with religion, but language is the same. We fear the unknown. We fear that someone is going to judge us because we're not speaking their language correctly, or they're not going to understand us, which of course is complete cobbywobble. It's not collywobble. Sorry, I said that wrong. Rubbish, in other words. We don't judge each other. As human beings, generally, we don't judge other human beings. There might be an instant, oh, he's like that. As soon as you see somebody, my son the other day said, oh, people that go to that shop are poor. That's a fairly broad statement. Yes, he was talking about a budget shop, where things aren't expensive. So people that go there tend to be people that don't have a budget to go elsewhere and to buy things at twice the price. But then I said to him, well, no, because I shop there, and I wouldn't be classed as poor generally. I go there because I just refuse to spend twice the price on things like shampoo, or I don't know, things for the house, when I can have it at half the price. Why would I spend twice the money on it? That's just daft. So, we do all make snap judgments, but what I mean is the judgment that comes afterwards, the judgment that you don't ever speak English to somebody and they walk away and go, oh my God, did you hear them speaking? That was so hard, or he made so many mistakes. People don't do that. They don't judge you like that. In actual fact, they're probably congratulating you, going, gosh, I wish I could speak your language. The number of people that say to me, I wish I could speak English the way you speak French. Well, you could. You just got to try. And that's all I want you to do. I'm going to end it here. I don't want it to be too long, and, I don't want to go off on a tangent again. So my word for you today is communicate. Communicate with other people in your own town. Communicate with foreigners. Communicate with people that look lost. Communicate online when you're playing games. Join in those chats in English. Join me in a chat. Contact me, and we can start speaking English together. Now, I have a couple of you on a new group, and I'm just waiting for 1 or 2 extra ones, and we can launch a chat group. And it's amazing. And it really will boost your confidence and make you realize that everything I'm telling you is true. You are perfect just the way you are. You don't need to be any different, and you don't need to be any better than you are to start speaking the language. So, over and out. Have a great Sunday. And I'm sorry for the time next week. Sorry. No, not next week. The 1st of June, I will be back at my normal time, end of the afternoon, because I know people connect then. So I hope you enjoy this on the replay. And yeah, have a lovely Sunday. And let me know if there's anything you want me to talk about. And I will talk to you about it. I'm open to offers. Bye for now. And yeah, great Sunday.